Sooner fans, Longhorn Nation, welcome to episode 145 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, University of Texas, and the University of Oklahoma. I'm here with my man, Kevin Miller. I am John Whitson. Kevin, sometimes I am wrong. It's not very often. Sometimes I try to anticipate the future, and the anticipation is flat out incorrect. I believed in the United States of America and their military institutions. What I did not count on, Kevin, was touchdown Jesus interceding on behalf of the entire Catholic Church to utterly destroy the Naval Academy in football yesterday. I did not see that one coming, Kevin. I doubted Jesus against America. I don't know who I love more. I love them both. I guess you're supposed to love Jesus more, but I sure don't love Notre Dame more. And all Notre Dame did was make me look stupid. Notre Dame blew the doors off of Navy. It was never close. But you know what was weird about it? And I know this is an OU Texas podcast. We'll get to that. Okay? We will get to that. Texas in good shape after a win against that pesky Vanderbilt team, 27-24. Oklahoma with signs of life in a loss against Ole Miss at Ole Miss. But Kevin, the U.S. Navy has not been beaten this bad since December 7th, 1941.
Somehow I knew you were going to go there.
December 7th, 1941, Kevin, was the last time the U.S. Navy was destroyed in such a fashion. If Joe Biden knew what date it was, he might refer to this as a date that would live in infamy. But that's another story. My point is, Riley Leonard only throws, he goes 13 of 21 for 178 yards, which is paltry, which is a terrible stat line when you really think about it. And somehow they still put 51 up on Navy. You were right. I was wrong. It doesn't happen often on this show, Kevin, but I'm a man. When I say I'm right or when I say I'm wrong, I come on and I say I'm wrong. Did you think Jesus was going to beat the U.S. Navy yesterday?
Well, I did pick Notre Dame to beat Navy.
That's
the
right.
problem for Navy is that Navy is good, right? I know it seems counterproductive, but it's because they're good and they had Notre Dame's full attention. We've seen Navy beat Notre Dame a few times, but it's usually when Navy's 2-4, 1-5, and they kind of catch Notre Dame slipping a little bit. The fact they were undefeated, Notre Dame was ready, they were up for it, and they really put it on them. But it was uncharacteristic for Navy with all those fumbles. What they end up with, I think 5 or 6.
I saw 6 turnovers.
Yeah, for
6
Navy.
turnovers.
And it's fumbles, right? They don't really. I mean, I guess they threw 1 interception, 5 lost fumbles. So you're not going to beat anybody, especially a team that has a major talent advantage over you when you're turning the ball over 6 times.
I feel like turnovers have been a bigger deal this year. I don't know why. Maybe it's because just from watching Oklahoma play a lot, but even Texas has had some turnover issues. We're going to talk about that. And Quinn's 2 turnovers. But I just feel like it's impacting games more. I don't know if it's because there's more parity, and so the turnovers are a bigger contributing factor to wins and losses. Am I wrong on that? Do you feel that too, or is that just kind of in my own brain?
No, it's been a lot. It's been a big deal, especially for the teams that we root for, right?
Yeah.
OU's had some really bad turnovers, and despite the fact that you force a lot, I think you force a lot, but you've given up a lot. And we're actually starting to see that with Texas too. They're forcing a lot, but they're giving up a lot. So it's really frustrating, and these kind of moments are what can change the outcome of games. We saw that also with the LSU A&M game that we'll discuss later.
Let's talk about OU. Let's talk about turnovers. Anyway, congratulations, Jesus. Nice win. Okay. Speaking of turnovers, Oklahoma sometimes there's a lot of hope, a lot of optimism coming out of this. Let's start positive. Let's start positive. I thought Joe John Finley injected some life into the offense. Okay? They only scored 2 touchdowns, but there were multiple drives that didn't end up in points. I think in the very first one of the game, they marched the field and got to the 2-yard line and 1 yard line, whatever, and went for it on 4th down. I like the call. You're on the road. They didn't pick it up. But again, marching it, it wasn't just – now, you get to the second half, and it was a lot of 3 and out, 3 and out. I think losing Jacob Sexton had a lot to do with that, but neither here nor there. Joe John Finley, I feel like, injected some energy. Jackson Arnold played really, really tough. His stat line's not going to show it, especially on the run game, because he was sacked an Oklahoma record 10 times. So it makes his rushing look terrible. But if you back those sacks out like you would in the NFL, he rushed for 104 yards, which, again, I think is really, really positive. But just in a little microcosm of Oklahoma football, they cannot get out of their own way sometimes, even when things are kind of going good. And I've been clamoring for Taylor Tatum. You know this, Kevin. I've been clamoring for Tatum. Give me more Taylor Tatum. He's your home run hitter. He's this, he's that. I'm beginning to think he's got to hold on to the ball, and maybe that's how he's not getting playing time. I don't know. He has a good run, a really, really good run, only to fumble the ball. And it's like, hold on to the ball. Then, miraculously, J.J. Hester, in the same play, makes just a dramatic hit, I think maybe with his arm or his helmet, whatever, knocks the ball out again, and then recovers it. All in the same play.
Yeah.
Only for Jackson Arnold to fumble it on the very next play. Now, points didn't come out of that or anything like that, but that to me is just like OU's season in a nutshell. It's like just when you feel like you have hope, you lose the ball, and then you kind of grab it back, and then you just lose it again. So I don't know. It was a very hopeful / frustrating / the defense sucks, but do they really suck? The offense is good, but are they really good? Ole Miss is a good team, but you still lost, but OU covers. It was a lot of contradictory thoughts as you kind of meandered through that game yesterday afternoon.
Yeah,
What
I agree.
did it look like to you? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I thought there was competence offensively, right? And that's what you've just been missing. For once, it's like, okay, there's actually a plan here. I can see what we're trying to do, right? I thought you stuck with the run.
Yeah.
I thought you ran the ball 50 attempts. I know the quarterback run, and there are a few sacks in there, but
10.
According to the stat sheet, 50 rushing attempts compared to 31 passing attempts. So I like the balance there. There was some creativity with some of the play design. I thought that was good. And I thought you did a good job of getting the ball, at least attempting to get the ball to the playmakers that you do have. Bauer Sharp was used as a receiver, not primarily as a blocker, like we saw against South Carolina. Right? He's a good athlete. He's good as a receiver. Right?
Hey, I was on the soccer sidelines with the soccer dads as this game's, and one of the soccer dads goes, well, I guess if you put Joe John Finley in, calling plays, you're going to get a lot more plays to the tight ends. And that was kind of said in jest, but my response was, it's nice to have an identity.
Correct.
It's nice to have something we're trying to do that's recognizable as a tactic or a strategy that we're trying to employ versus just whatever the heck we were doing for the first 6 or 7 games, right? And so if it's Bauer Sharp, look, the guy still had a couple drops. He still had some shots over the middle that tight ends have to catch and help their quarterback out. He's far from a Gunnar Helm, right now.
Yeah.
He's far from, that type of player. But to your
right
point,
now, he's the best you got right now. It's the best you got right now. You got to give him the ball. So, yeah. And again, throwing to the tight end is always a security blanket for the quarterback. It's a bigger target. He's closer to the line of scrimmage, right? I mean, statistically, the closer you are to the line of scrimmage, the higher the completion percentage is going to be. And again, with the receivers that you have right now, I will take my chances on throwing to an athletic tight end and, throwing to the wide receivers. especially when your leading wide receiver right now is a walk-on.
A walk-on true freshman?
I
Redshirt
think
freshman?
so.
He had
I'll be
6.
honest. I don't know
Bauer
anything
Sharp
about
had
Jacob
8.
Jordan.
Bauer Sharp had 8 catches, 53 yards. It's not stunning numbers, but he had a touchdown. Jordan, who we're talking about there, had 6 catches for 38 yards and a touchdown. At least we're starting to feel like maybe we can complete a forward pass, which I know sounds like I'm being kind of dickish, but it's the truth. I mean, it got to a point there against Texas and South Carolina where we had no idea if we were going to ever get a first down. The first drive of the game, we marched it down the field, Kevin. Now, I'll tell you what, I bring up Javonte Barnes. Javonte Barnes had a very good day receiving. 5 receptions, 57 yards, 11.4 a reception. I liked what he did in the receiving game. He looked like a better runner, 4.2 yards a carry. Again, just marginally better. But the eye test said he looked better and was running stronger. He's still not the home run hitter that you want.
No, he's never going to be at this point. And I thought, I mean, that you're making the best of what you have with the offensive line issues that you have. I think to get that amount of rushing yards from him is what you could hope for against a defense like Ole Miss.
You talk about offensive line. Up until Jacob Sexton going out of the game after getting rolled up not once but twice, got rolled up on the back. We hope he's back. It doesn't sound good, though, according to Gabe Eichert on the sidelines. He did not feel good about it. Oklahoma was holding their own against Ole Miss's D-line in that first half. They were holding their own. The bulk of the sacks came in the second half when Ole Miss knows they're having to pass the ball. I'm not saying they're
you're chasing the game at that point. Yeah. And again, there's a difference in run blocking and pass protection, too. The run blocking was good.
I thought so, right?
Yeah, it was solid. Yeah.
At least in the first half.
And again, give Finley credit for sticking with it. 16 attempts for Barnes, 9 for Tatum, despite that really bad fumble, which thankfully didn't cost you too much, but still, like, you just can't.
It's a bad fumble.
You can't have that, man. Yeah, and 2 of the last 3 weeks for him to have that. And that's why, I mean, between that and the pass protection, that's why he's not the starting running back.
Let me ask you a couple of other specific instance questions that happened. Again, I heard the radio call. I listened to the guys. I actually like that better than trying to watch it on a phone at soccer games. I don't know why. I love listening to Toby Rowland and Teddy Lehman and all those guys too. So maybe that's why I like it. So I didn't see things. I went back and watched some, but I want to kind of get your vibe. But there were 2 situations. Number one, just a pure penalty deal. In the fourth quarter, when they got the second sideline warning, why was that not a 15-yard penalty?
You know, I don't think I picked up on that. So they got a second sideline warning?
Well, according to the radio call, they got a sideline warning in the first half. And then they got a sideline
one in the first half. Okay, I remember the one in the second half.
So well, then I need to fact check them with the radio crew because they were upset about it. Like, everybody's like, why isn't that a deal?
Yeah, I mean, you get 1 warning. Second one should be a personal foul, 15-yard penalty.
So I need to check that. And then number 2, the reverse pass, or not the reverse pass, but the double pass to Bauer Sharp. Seems to be a lot of consternation among OU fan about this being called and when it was called. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I didn't see the big deal about it. The play can work, right? Texas ran it twice in the Red River Shootout against you guys. And I thought he just covered well.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, Bauer Sharp's he's played quarterback before.
And I mean, look, he's not like he threw a pick. He dropped back, saw it was covered. They had underneath and over the top coverage on it. So he just tried to run with it and got tackled for a 1-yard loss.
Look, I think you got to try.
And it was first down. It's not like it was 4th and goal and you tried it.
I think you got to try to make something happen.
Correct. You're trying to get points on the board, but you haven't been able to do.
If they score with that play, it's a genius play. And everybody loves Joe John Finley and says, that's what we've been looking for. It just didn't work. I get that we had some offensive rhythm. And believe me, nobody appreciates that more than this guy who wants to run the ball on every play if it's possible. So I understand that. But that's the whole idea behind a trick play is, hey, we're running, we're hitting them. Now let's try to hit them over the top with something a little different. I got no problem with that. We're trying to win the game. Oklahoma, though, did have opportunities in the red zone that when you look back at the totality of the game, you're sitting there saying, could we have beat Ole Miss?
Yeah, you had a chance there. You had a chance. I mean, having the lead.
The first drive of the game,
first
drive of the game, not punching it in, Kevin. I mean, go back to the very first quarter, not punching that in.
Yeah.
It's interesting, right? Like, Oklahoma was, I'd say we're close, but you're not left, dude, against South Carolina, that game was over in 5 minutes. This game, man, freaking Oklahoma was in the game. They were in the game, and they had some chances. That's, I guess, my takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, the 20-point spread, right? And the fact that
you to cover, you suck.
I did. I just figured there'd be some sort of spark offensively, and you're basically running a new offense, right? So whatever they had seen on film, you knew you were going to see something different that they hadn't prepped for. At least got you off to a good start. So I mean, at least there was a plan, right? Now, I think this one showed that offensively it really showed how limited you are from a personnel standpoint. Whereas it was so incompetent, you didn't even notice that you were limited. It's just like, what are you guys even trying to do?
Yeah.
Today or yesterday, you can see that there was a plan against Ole Miss. It's just like we just don't have the horses to put up the kind of points that are needed to beat Ole Miss.
JJ Hester has one catch. I mean, like you said, your leading receiver is a 5'9" white guy, true freshman who played a good, solid game.
Yeah, got his first career touchdown.
Got a touchdown. Nothing wrong. But you're right. This isn't Nick Anderson and Jaden Gibson and Andrel Anthony and Jalil Farouk. And I don't know what's going on with Deion Burks.
Which
I thought.
Go ahead, quick, man. I got to ask you about what is going on with the receivers. Period. Like Nick Anderson, did he just re-aggravate his injury so bad that he's just never going to play again this season? And
I heard from an anonymous source that it was misdiagnosed 3 weeks into the season. It was misdiagnosed prior to the season.
I've heard the exact same thing. Just so we're clear.
You heard the same thing.
I heard it, yes.
And that he should have gone in for surgery and could have even potentially been back if he would have done the surgery. But they kept trying to rehab, and then potentially made it worse against Tennessee when he tried to come back in.
Okay. I've heard something similar regarding Deion Burks, too.
Deion Burks is weird, though. I'm going to say why I think Deion Burks is weird. It's weird because he's out there warming up and dancing around.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Well, maybe not this game, but in the game previous. He's out there warming up, and you're like, okay.
That's so interesting.
That, to me, that just feels weird. But listen, I've said this on the show. I don't question these guys. Football's a tough game.
Me neither. It's just I'm not questioning them. It's just the situation overall is just odd.
I think that Brent Venables, I think coaches are hesitant to question the medical staff for fear of being accused of interference or undue influence on maybe making guys play or not play. And I think that's great, having an independent. At the same time, I think we might want to take a look at our medical staff because I think some things may have been missed. And I don't know. I'm just suspecting here, but it's a lot at one position, and it's just weird the way those have occurred, you know?
Right.
Okay, hey, real quick. Defensively, before we get to Texas. Defensively, okay, we let them go right down the field on us. Then we kind of stop, right? I mean, only 3 more points in that half. And the reality is they only had 3 touchdowns. Ole Miss is an offensive team. Jackson Dart statistically was the best quarterback in the SEC going into yesterday. And he didn't do bad. We completely stopped him running the ball. Parrish Jr. only had 44 yards on 15 carries.
Yeah, 2.9 a pop, by the way, if you're doing the math. 2.9 a carry. 2.9 yards a carry for him.
I mean, look, the problem is, and this is my question for you, the tight ends, just Lane Kiffin sliced us up with the tight ends. So I'm going to ask you, A, what happened there? What did you see? And B, I like McCullough, but was McCullough a liability in coverage? Would a Dolby have been better in that situation?
Well, I think this was just a scouting deal for Ole Miss. They came out with running 2 tight ends, which I love. Texas runs that a lot. And they hadn't really done it much all year, right? They typically they run 1 tight end, and they took a receiver out. Remember, they had their guy injured, Trey Harris,
Yeah.
the SEC's leading receiver.
Yeah,
Was
ESPN made sure
injured.
to let everybody. ESPN made sure to let everybody know that they didn't have their one receiver was hurt for them. Yep, that's right. One receiver.
Trust me, they went in detail about all of y'all's being out too.
All I heard was about theirs. I never even heard him mention ours. I don't even think they knew that we had guys out.
I don't know if that was the reason why they went with an extra tight end, but you guys hadn't prepared for it because they hadn't put it on film. And having 2 out there, it screwed up the coverage. Having 2 tight ends, and they were able to exploit the middle of the field, the linebackers and the safeties, right? Stutzman is a great linebacker, but he's not the best in coverage. Happening if he has to turn and run with the tight end. And the tight ends are big too. They were able to get in front of the safeties a couple times. Billy Bowman,
was it number 9? I think it was 9. He was a single-digit tight end.
The one who got the touchdown. Yeah.
He was a big. Is it Caden Prescorn?
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think was it Watkins the other one? Or Caden Lee.
Bowman. He had 7 tackles. But did he get exposed a little bit in coverage, or was it just Kiffin's scheme?
But yeah, man. I mean, when you get these matchups, right? Sark against Venables, Lane Kiffin against it's good on good, right? And you're just gonna win some, you're gonna lose some.
Yeah,
you guys are good on defense, but you go on against other elite, play designers, and you're gonna lose some battles. And it's just what happens, man. So. I mean, the defensively overall, I mean, you do enough if you hold
26 points.
26 points, you feel good about that.
Yeah.
It's just hard because the pressure is on the defense because the offense is not able to put up the kind of points that are needed. So when Ole Miss getting to 26, I mean, that's all you need.
OU has the SEC cupcake against the Maine next week. You hope to be able to get right with Jacob Sexton, again with the receivers. Who the heck knows? I mean, I don't think you count on any of them at all for the rest of the season. So I think this is who we have. Hopefully we can get right. A glimmer of hope on the horizon, maybe with Missouri being shut out by A&M. I mean, I'm sorry, not by A&M, but by Alabama. If that, well, they got beat down by A&M and then shut out by Alabama. Somehow find themselves still ranked in the top 25, which whatever. I think that's an opportunity for Oklahoma to maybe get another win. So of course we'll talk about that. But if I take anything positive away, the offense did look better.
Yes, I agree. You're going to have to continue to add things because you don't want to get scouted, right? Because coach is going to see this film and maybe try to pick up on some tendencies. So hopefully you can see some progress. Because, but there were signs of hope. Running the ball, being dedicated to the running game, that has to feel good. I'm sure the offensive line appreciates that too, especially if you struggle in pass protection. You at least want to run the ball, then they'll at least have to respect the play action.
Yes. Yeah.
So
okay.
You have to keep running the football.
That's Oklahoma. Lost in Ole Miss. Side note, most OU fans seem to love the Grove. So there you go, Texas.
Well, I've heard great things about the Grove. Texas went back there back in 2013 or something when Mac Brown was still there, and the fans.
Y'all beat them down too, didn't you? Didn't you beat them down?
We did. We had a home and home though. They beat us in Austin. We beat them out there.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had Marquise Goodwin, and the Olympian playing receiver for us, and got him loose a few times. Real quick, man. I just
sure.
OU as a whole, just how you feeling about? Obviously, the season hasn't gone the way any of us expected. I picked OU to go 8-4 this season.
They're not going to get to 8-4.
And you thought I was crazy?
Well, I mean, we made those picks. I'm not going to blame it on injuries either necessarily, but we made those picks.
It's a big. I mean, it's.
And I'm thinking we have. I think we made those big. I think when we made those picks, Jaden Gibson was out.
Yeah, you still
But
have
I'm
Nick Anderson,
thinking you're
Deion Burks.
having. I think you have Nick Anderson and Jaleel Farouk and Deion Burks, and I'm thinking, well, that's a pretty good receiving core.
Yeah,
Um, I will say this though. I think you're right that this is the first game where we legitimately missed them because you saw opportunities that they could have been used. So I don't know that you can blame it on that necessarily. I see a little bit of hope. The defense is hanging in there. Jackson Arnold looks a little more confident. I think threw for 66% completion, which is pretty good this year for him. Um, Look, get a win against Maine. Go beat Missouri. Give yourself a chance in the last two games. Just to compete. Just to compete. So I don't know. Shifting to Nashville. In a game that was only a 3-point difference, Texas winning 27-24. Diego Pavia he might not be Johnny Manziel, but that dude's a ball player, man. That touchdown he made on the first run after the interception,
yeah.
and he takes that 19-yard one around the end and gets to the corner. I mean, that's just an all heart
angle. But yeah, he's yeah, you gotta respect that kid, man. You gotta respect it. I'm a fan.
But much like Oklahoma, you essentially shut their running game down. Their one junior, I don't think they had any runs. Junior Sherrill's receiver, right? I don't think they ran the ball at all.
No,
so
they did not.
That wasn't an issue. The biggest issue, like we talked about at the top of the show, turnovers. Quinn throws 2. Both of them were tips. When we talked about this before we recorded, you seemed to kind of give Quinn a pass on the tips. I don't know.
No, I'm not giving him I'm not necessarily giving him a pass. It's just those are just unfortunate, as opposed to not reading the defense right, not seeing the safety, or not seeing the linebacker who's dropped back in the zone. Those, So I'm not giving him a pass. I still think there's some mechanical stuff. He was better in the first half. He was great. I mean, he comes out, his first pass of the game gets intercepted. That's what leads to that short touchdown, or the touchdown run by Pavia, giving Vanderbilt a 7-0 lead. Then he comes out and he hits 18 straight, to finish the first half. I mean, in the first half, he's I think he's 17 of 19 for 212 yards and 3 touchdowns.
So what happened in the second half?
Yeah, in the second half, it was just the tale of two halves, right? I think Vanderbilt made some adjustments. We had drives going, but the penalties, man, we had 10 penalties. And most of those were on the offensive line. Whether it be, we had a bunch of holding calls, which some I agreed with, some of them I didn't, but they called them, right? So we had holding calls, we had pre-snap penalties, we had a personal foul on Cam Williams. So it's every time we get a drive, we start driving, we get into the red zone. We had one that was 3rd and 1. Then we get a holding call, it makes it 3rd and 11. And now you're having, percentages are just low on 3rd and 11. So it was just sloppy play, a lot of self-inflicted stuff. And it was frustrating, man. Like I said, it was the turnovers, the offensive line, not just with the penalties, but also some pass protection issues that have been exposed. And it's not guys getting whipped necessarily. I mean, Cam Williams got whipped on an inside move on one play. But it's just bust almost.
Not recognizing where it's coming from.
Correct. Yeah, not recognizing the blitz. And then one of our backs, Jaden Blue, he was lined up in front of the linebacker, and then he runs and picks up somebody else who didn't need picking up, and then their middle linebacker comes free and sacks Quinn. And then
you know what though?
Quinn's lack of mobility is just.
Did Vanderbilt let me ask you, did Vanderbilt pick something up from the Georgia game? Did Georgia put some tape out there that says this is how you get to Quinn Ewers?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. And again,
because this is the most duress. These two games are the most duress he's felt in almost 2 years. I mean, outside of the OU game in 23 last year.
Yeah, 23. Yeah, you guys had some good.
We got to him quite a bit, but nobody else really did. Not even Washington last year.
No, and it's frustrating because with this offensive line, you see the talent, right? I mean, Kelvin Banks. I told you this, and I think most scouts have agreed that Georgia game was not nearly as bad for him as the commentators were making it seem on the broadcast. But just these guys have been playing together for 3 years now. And the camaraderie has been there, but over the last 2 weeks, I'm not sure exactly what's happening. I get Georgia. Georgia has NFL guys all over their defense and a great scheme, but you can't have your quarterback getting sacked 4 times against Vanderbilt. All due respect, they're a really good
Well,
program.
just for the record, we got
respectable
for the record.
program.
If it makes you feel better, we got sacked 10 times.
Yeah,
OU record.
That is true. And you had 9 against South Carolina, but
OU
we're in
record.
different places from an offensive line standpoint. You guys have had 10 different line combinations, or you've had every game you've had different line starting combinations.
I really thought, to me, the microcosm of the whole game, came down to the fourth quarter. Y'all have the ball. I don't think it was off an interception. Maybe it was, but maybe a fumble. But
y'all have the ball. An interception there. It was 4th down. They were going for it. We really
That's right. Okay. And he kind of throws it up a little bit.
Yeah, he floats it. Yeah.
So y'all have the ball, and you move the ball. Well, the return was really good. So you literally just have to punch it in, and the game is over. Like, you're big bad Texas, big bad offensive line. Vanderbilt's on their heels. This is the death blow. The good teams need to just knock it out. And you had to settle for a field goal. And to me, it just spoke to like how the game had gone for y'all. Like, fortunate with the interception, nothing to really screw it up. But my God, if you just punch it in, the game's over.
Correct. And there's a lack of killer instinct that I'm noticing with this team.
Wow.
Even in the first half, right? I thought Texas should have been up 31-7 at halftime. But again, we're getting penalties, pushing us back in drives. We have to punt the ball when we're in field goal, or we get sacked. We're in field goal range. It's 3rd down. We get sacked. Now we're out of field goal range. We have to punt. So instead of that, we're up 21-10. I'm thinking like, man, this game, we haven't put this game away. Even though you look at the stats and we're just completely dominant. They can't do anything offensively.
Nope.
They can't run it. They can't pass it.
No,
they can do nothing.
Their 2 touchdowns came off of turnovers. The 2 tips. That's the thing, right? Is they're opportunistic. Vanderbilt is an opportunistic team. And you give them the ball, they seem to convert. You forced 3 turnovers and couldn't convert on any of them.
Couldn't get
and it's like you convert on one of those and the game is essentially over. It's not coming down to an onside kick or whatever.
They call it what the complimentary football coaches are always talking about. And it just wasn't there. The defense has been great this season. And I mean, even against Georgia, turn over Carson Beck 3 times. I mean, if you say we're going to hold Carson Beck under 200 yards passing and force 3 interceptions, I'm thinking, okay, we win this game easily, especially since they hadn't ran the ball great. So, yeah, same thing here. We forced 3 turnovers and just couldn't do anything with it. So, yeah, it's frustrating. I'm glad we have another bye week because we
have a bye week.
Things. Yeah,
and
then we play Florida.
Listen, let's see. Florida's looking a little better. Does Florida have Georgia next week?
They do. They have the cocktail party in Jacksonville against Georgia.
Here's the deal. Even when I think maybe Texas might have to actually play a real schedule, you're going to get to play Florida after Georgia beats them to death.
Yeah.
That's classic. Yeah. That's freaking classic. I'll tell you what, though. We're going to talk in Kentucky. Kentucky's a dumpster fire. I have no idea how they beat Ole Miss. I have no idea how they beat Ole Miss.
Me neither, man. But, going on the road in the SEC, I've heard Kirby Smart say this over the past few years when they get in these close games that they barely beat Kentucky. I mean, obviously.
Kentucky, that was at home, though. That was at home for Mississippi.
But what I'm saying is, it's just this conference is wild, man. You just see that. Vanderbilt beat Alabama. They were in a dogfight against Texas. So, man, I don't know. The Florida game's going to be tough, though. They still have good players. They do. Okay. They haven't been horrible this year.
Let's take a moment. Thank our sponsor. Our sponsors. We'll do sponsors today, Kevin. Brown O'Haver, public insurance adjusting firm, works for the insured, not the insurance company. You pay a crap ton of premiums to your insurance company. When you have a loss to your home or your business that you have to file a claim on, you need to maximize that payout within the confines of the policy. And the most efficient way to do that is to hire Brown O'Haver, a public insurance adjuster. They're licensed by the state of Oklahoma, Texas, and like 20 other states. And even in the other states, and if you're listening, we've got reciprocal agreements. We can make it happen. But you want to maximize those claims because insurance claims, construction costs, everything is going up. And so an insurance claim is the last thing you need it to do is cost you money. You need to make money on an insurance claim and make enough money to have full repairs and set you up for the future. So if you've had a loss to your home or your business, we're coming into fire season in Oklahoma as things get colder. Things are pretty dry right now. Wildfires are starting to become an issue as things are drying out. Call Brown O'Haver, 405-735-5510. Kevin, we had a big hailstorm about 3 weeks ago. Roofs in Oklahoma are always a big deal. Who should they call if they have roof damage or if they need to know if they have roof damage?
Yeah, give our friends at Pioneer Roofing a call. They give you a free inspection, let you know if your roof is damaged, if you need to file an insurance claim. Give us a call, 405-549-2712.
Kevin, the week that was week 9, we segued. We were talking about Texas's schedule. Let's segue into the two probably biggest games left on their schedule, starting with A&M and LSU. We talked about this. This was going to be a decision for who's a serious team and who's not. Looks like A&M might have answered the question. Let me give you a post-game quote from Mike Elko. He said, "This is a program that is serious, and it's not run by a politician." Do you like Mike Elko taking shots at Jimbo Fisher? At one of the biggest wins in this program's history, with a win over against, at the time, number 8 LSU.
That's pretty funny, man. I did not hear that quote until now.
Is that awesome? What a great quote.
It's a great quote, man, because, Jimbo Fisher,
he was too much.
What a great opportunity. And we always make fun of A&M because they make it incredibly easy for us to do so. However, I will say that they have done everything from an administrative standpoint. They've done everything in their power to make themselves a winning program, a championship program. They've done it all, right? They have. But here's the thing: they've been doing it for the last 10 years. So it's nothing new. It just hasn't.
You mean administratively, maybe not on the field.
Yeah, administrative from administrative standpoint.
Infrastructure, NIL,
yes,
the entire package.
Done everything from an administrative standpoint to make themselves a championship program. They just haven't had the right coach. And is Elko the right guy? I don't know. It's too early to say that, but they look really good so far. I like the way they play. I like that they're physical on both sides of the lines of scrimmage. They run the football, which I know you love.
I love it.
Right?
I love it.
And I'm going to give him credit for making a quarterback change in that game, even though Weigman hadn't done anything to really lose it. But
sometimes you need a spark.
They needed a spark, and Marcel Reed, LSU. First of all, Marcel Reed has played in like 4 games this season, but LSU looked like they were just completely unprepared for the fact that this dude will run the football. He comes in the game.
It's amazing, isn't it?
They scored touchdowns on 4 straight possessions.
You literally think it's only your team that is so stupid because, like for me, I get very siloed on Oklahoma, obviously. And so I think that we are the stupidest program in the history, and we're the only one that makes mistakes. But you're absolutely right. Like, what you think he was going to do when they put him in the game?
Yeah.
And he
never adjusted.
9 carries, 62 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, and it just, they didn't have a chance. And Brian Kelly even talked about feeling like they never had a chance, that they had no idea it was going to happen. It was crazy.
Correct. I mean, and Weigman, yeah, the completion percentage, I didn't realize it was this bad. I just pulled up the stats. He was 6 of 18.
That's not good.
No, I mean, you're out here at 33%, man. Yeah, you for 64 yards, not good enough. And good thing for him because the way that Garrett Nussmeier was playing in the first half, they were hitting big plays in the passing game. But the A&M defense in the second half, I mean, turning Nussmeier over 3 times. I don't know what their adjustment that they made, but 3 interceptions. He just was not seeing it.
So here's the problem with A&M, and we know this. To your point, they did all the right things. Despite Jimbo, they recruited out of this world. The talent there, and I know they had some transfer portal with Elko coming in. It doesn't matter.
No.
The talent they have there, it's really good, dude.
It's really good, and it's good where it matters. It's in the trenches.
Their defensive line,
especially the defensive line. Again, they pulled all these guys in 1 year. They have the number 1 recruiting class, people say, of all time. They lost Walter Nolan, which was a big loss. He went to Ole Miss, and he's looking good for Ole Miss. Oh. But all the other guys, DJ Hicks is still there. Shamar Turner is still there, right? So all those guys are still there, and now they're in year 3. Nick Scorton, who they got from Purdue, is a big-time impact player for them. So when you have that elite talent, and now you bring in somebody like Elko, and you're seeing the pressure that they can get by rushing for. They can blitz, and they're really good at the simulated pressure when they bring up 6 guys. You guys run this a lot. They bring up a bunch of guys in the line, and it freaks out the quarterback. The quarterback feels like there's 6 guys coming, but really there's only 4. And it forces quarterbacks into mistakes, quick throws, and interceptions. And that's exactly what happened to Nussmeier in the second half. So we'll see. They got a tough schedule for the rest of the season, but they're going to be a tough out for anybody because of that physical style they have. Texas A&M.
No. They don't have a tough schedule. I just pulled it up.
Oh, wait, what do they have?
They play South Carolina. South Carolina. That's a win.
Okay.
I think I don't know. It might not be at home. They got to go to South Carolina. Listen, I think that's a win. I really do.
Me too. South Carolina just doesn't have the offense.
New Mexico State, win. And then Auburn. Auburn's only good.
Oh, wow. Okay. You know what? And I think I'm taking this by the history of the SEC when they would play all the teams in the West. So they don't play Alabama at all. Yeah,
they don't play Alabama. So,
oh my goodness.
So there is, when you compare Texas's schedule to Texas A&M, there's a likelihood, better than not, I think Texas could have trouble. We just had that schedule up, but I think you could have trouble with Arkansas.
Yes.
I don't think you're going to have trouble with Florida because I think, like I said, Florida's going to come off Georgia. That's going to be tough physically and especially with you guys coming off a bye week. I think Arkansas might be your toughest remaining. I think South Carolina is probably their toughest remaining as I think those two.
Yeah.
But there's a really, 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 really good chance that you're playing to go to the SEC championship game. And
how about that?
That would be, listen, I'm not saying the word fantastic because I think it would be awful for
you don't want to see either of those teams in the playing for the conference title.
And I will say fascinating though. That would be fascinating to watch Texas and Texas A&M in year 1 in the SEC for Texas either fall to A&M or destroy A&M's chances. Either way.
Yeah,
it would be it'd be pretty crazy.
We're already looking. This is setting up to be one of the most intense atmospheres in recent college football history. Kyle Field, Texas against Texas A&M for the first time since 2011. It's a lot of built-up frustration between the fan bases. Kyle Field was rocking last night for LSU, and
go
ahead.
Remember over the summer when EA Sports ranked Kyle Field as the hardest home environment. And we all talked about it's a great environment, but it hasn't been hard to win there historically.
Yeah.
Plenty of teams win there all the time. Oklahoma's won there all the time. Texas won there all the time.
Yeah.
Other teams have won there. However, I will say, if they win out and they're undefeated playing Texas, and Texas only has 1 loss, my God, you might be able to hear it in Norman. That's crazy.
I mean, it was loud on the broadcast last night. It was deafening against LSU. And A&M has tried to kind of manufacture a rivalry against LSU. I don't know if LSU fans really see it that way. But with Texas, there's no denying it. And
Yeah.
they were playing a tight game against LSU in one of their biggest wins in recent history at Kyle Field. And they panned through the crowd, and half of the crowd is throwing the horns down. So, I mean,
I love it.
it's
I
gonna
love
be
that.
it's gonna be a crazy atmosphere, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so that's that game. Also, out of the SEC, there wasn't a lot of ranked matchups outside of Ole Miss, Texas, Vandy, A&M, and LSU. Everything else, Bama, Missouri. Let's talk about this game. This has Oklahoma implications on it. I mentioned it earlier. I think it's a sign of life for Oklahoma in a way to see what Alabama was able to do defensively against Missouri. 34-0. Listen, Alabama's good. We know that. Alabama could end up in the SEC championship game. Alabama could still make the playoff if they went out and don't even make the SEC championship game. But they're still Bama. I get that. But they haven't just been a killer defensively. To shut down Missouri, is that hope for Oklahoma? Does that put Missouri in a light that looks a little bit different than maybe it did, especially, I don't know, before Missouri played A&M in terms of OU having a chance to beat them?
I think you do, because if you look at it defensively, Missouri's been a good defense. They've been a top 10 defense so far this season. They gave up 271 yards rushing to Alabama, and Alabama has not run the ball well this season. So it shows that you can run on them, right? And I know Alabama's offensive line is different than OU's, but still, 271 yards, a lot of yards. So even Milroe, 16 to 26, 215 yards. And their offense, I think Brady Cook got injured.
Yes. Well, he was injured. Remember, he went to the hospital. Was it the same injury? Did he re-aggravate it?
I think he re-aggravated. Well, actually, no. I think he hurt his hand. I think he got hit and fell on his hand awkwardly. So Drew Pine had to play. He was 6 of 12 for 42 yards with 3 interceptions. So they couldn't do anything with their offense. 72 yards passing.
I just don't know. I don't know how Missouri
for 3 yards.
I don't know how Missouri stays in the top 25. I mean, the only 2 losses they've had are blowouts. Now they're both against good teams, but I don't know.
Still, yeah, you can't go on the road and not score a point. This is not 2000. It's not 2012 Alabama or 2011 Alabama.
Let's just go ahead and keep it in the SEC. Another game that we talked about, somebody that y'all are going to have to play. Arkansas beat Mississippi State down 58-25. Listen, this is the problem with Arkansas, and that's really going to be the issue for you guys when you face them here in a couple 3 weeks. Is they're psychotic. When they're really good, they're like my 13-year-old daughter right now. Okay, it's a very pivotal time in a girl's life. That's what I feel like Arkansas is going through, right? The ups and downs. When my daughter is on, she's like the best in the world. I love her. She's awesome. When she's off, I don't even want to be in the same state as her. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's with Arkansas. When they're good, I mean, 58 on Mississippi State. Y'all didn't put 58 on them. That's a lot of points.
No, we did not. Not at all. I think we had.
But when they're bad, they go fumble 4 times against Oklahoma State and lose to a team that's now 3-5. So how does that work?
All I know is they're going to be fired up. I told you before, I'm glad that game is at 11. It's still going to be loud, but I'd rather have it at 11 than at 7 p.m. I don't want to deal with those fans when they've had all day to get liquored up. So, and they put up 600 yards of offense, really closer to 700 yards of offense. So, and I think it's like the 4th time this year that they've done that. So this offense is dangerous. And yeah, it'll be a test for Texas for sure.
Outside of the SEC, Pittsburgh remains undefeated, beating Syracuse 41-13. Does not crack them into the top 10 in the AP poll. I don't exactly know where they're at, but still undefeated. ACC not getting a lot of love. We'll see what happens with them. In the chase, now that Navy took a hit in the chase for the playoff for the non-Power 4, Boise State kind of solidifies their spot as front runner with a win over UNLV 29-24. Jainty runs for 33 carries, 128 yards. On the year, He has 1,376 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 5 games to go. I think they played 7 games. Is that right?
They're 6-1. Yeah.
They're 6-1. I'm going to do the math real quick here, Kevin. You talk about Genty, and let me do the math.
Yeah, first of all, I thought UNLV did a good job. If you can hold him to that average, 33 carries for 128 yards, I mean, that's all you could hope for. And I thought UNLV played a good game, and they have the lead. Janty scored a touchdown to give them the lead there in the fourth quarter. So Barry Odom's done a good job there at UNLV, but Janty's just been unreal. And they've got
here's the math. Here's the math. You ready for this?
Let's hear it.
If he runs for his average, which is obviously a lot higher than the 130, the 128 he had on Saturday, he'll go for 2,358 yards.
Wow.
That's a Heisman. I'm sorry. That's a Heisman.
For sure. You have to give it to him. You absolutely have.
I mean, look at those running backs from look at the big guy from Wisconsin.
The most exciting. Ron Dane.
Yeah, it wasn't the most exciting guy in the world, but when you run like that, you get the Heisman.
You get the Heisman, man. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Real quick though, 3.9 yards a carry though for UNLV's defense, so just pretty impressive.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty salty. But Boise State with the win. Oregon, they look like the number 1 team in the country against Illinois. Illinois, who coming off a big win against Michigan, and DG 22 of 30 for 311 yards and a touchdown. I don't like Oregon as a team. I'm on record of that. This goes back to 2005 and maybe points it even before that, or 06, whatever. But I do like Dylan Gabriel. I'm happy to see what he's doing there.
Balance offensively for them too. 298 yards passing, 229 yards rushing.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, dude, they're not bad.
No,
they're a pretty good number 1 team.
Yeah, number 1 team for a reason.
Number 3 team in the country, Penn State, dispatches Wisconsin 28-13. If OU needs any feel-good news, you don't have to worry about seeing a gaudy stat line from Tawee Walker. He was rather pedestrian. I think he had like 59 yards rushing. So
off of 22 carries. Yeah, 22 for 59. Drew Aller did get injured for Penn State.
How hurt is he?
I don't know. I don't know, but hurt enough to where he did not come back in the game. And the game that they were trailing too. So they were down 10-7 at halftime. So we'll see going forward. That could affect their chances if he has to miss any time.
Ohio State beat Nebraska despite being down in the fourth quarter. Outside of Oregon, one of the few times Ohio State's been tested. But they came out on top just because they're the number 1 or whatever they are now. Number
4, I think.
Number 4 in the country. Miami makes an entrance at number 5 in the poll this week for the first time since 2017. We talked about when the last time Miami was that high. It was 2017. My guess is that was in like week 1 or 2. But they take care of Florida State. Hey, despite Oklahoma as bad as we are right now, and we're 500 and it feels awful, I think it's fair to say we're not Florida State, right, Kevin?
Oh yeah, I mean they're 1-7, 1-6 in the conference, and they were bad before without any injuries.
Just bad.
Yui Angalale is out, but that had nothing. I mean, they were horrible.
They were going to
get with him. Yeah, full strength this year. They were horrible.
I on the sideline of the soccer game today in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I was wearing my BYU hat to commemorate their 37-24 win over UCF. Look, I don't know. They got BYU at number 9, and that's probably right. I don't know a team that wants to play them in the first round of the playoffs, though. Do you?
I don't think so, man.
You think Texas wants any part of BYU right now?
They're really.
You saw how hard Vandy made it on you. BYU's every bit that scrappy.
They are. Yeah, it would be. They'll be a tough out for anybody. Right? They're a mature team, play hard. Yeah, they're a tough out for anybody. Their schedule though. Holy War next week at Utah. This should be interesting. Yeah.
I guess the question will be: is Cam Rising playing or not? I don't even know if that's the question. He might be out for the season. I don't know. It's a bit much. Listen, We talked about this when BYU joined the Big 12 conference last year, along with Joe Young, but just you and I talked about it too. Oklahoma and Texas is the greatest rivalry in college football.
Yes.
Largely because of the success of the two programs and how much it means on a national scale every single year. Okay, every single year, the game is a pivotal game. Plus, you have the environment. Plus, it's a border war. Plus, it's all the things. Okay, number one. However, and I don't know where it ranks, but the Holy War is intense. They hate each other. Like, Oklahoma and Texas hate each other too, but they ain't doing a podcast together. They hate each other, Kevin. It is, whew, God, I mean, it's on religious lines, and it's pretty cool to watch. I was really impressed. I went when I went to watch a BYU game, not this last time, but this was like 2016. I saw BYU play Virginia, one of the hottest games I've ever been at. We went to Utah and saw that stadium. Dude, it's gorgeous too. The facilities there are fantastic. Anyway, I hope BYU beats them.
Well, I mean, Utah's 4-4, by the way. They've lost 4 straight games. They lost to Houston last night.
So what?
I don't care who's playing quarterback.
It's one of those though.
Houston.
Well, Oklahoma only scored 16 on Houston or whatever the number was.
Yeah. And
12.
a win though. And a win.
Yeah. Those were the good days. Indiana. Is there a team hotter right now than the Indiana Hoosiers?
Man, they got it rolling right now.
They're only ranked 13th. Do you think they got a little bit of chip on their shoulder too?
Maybe so. Maybe so. I think the schedule hasn't been great for them so far.
Who does Indiana have left? I can check it out.
I've got it right here.
Okay. Yeah. Who's Indiana have left?
They've got at Michigan State. Very winnable. They play Michigan, which should be very interesting. They host that game.
I don't think it's interesting. Michigan's got beat by.
I just want to see how they are in the trenches. They'll test them in the trenches. We know that. Michigan can't score, but we know they'll test them in the trenches. Then they got to go to Columbus, November 23rd.
Okay, there we go.
They got to go to Columbus, and then they finish off. They finish off at home against Purdue.
Okay. Here's the deal. That's a win. Here's the deal. You lose to Ohio State. I think there's a good chance you're still in the playoff.
There's a really good chance. I want to see what this committee thinks of them. You know,
they don't love. Well, the AP. I guess I shouldn't say they don't love them. The AP doesn't love them. When does the first college football playoff ranking come out?
I think it's 2 weeks. Okay. I think it's in November. Yeah, I think I could be wrong though. It might be this week. I don't know.
Okay. Listen, I don't know about Indiana. Now, do they have an offensive head coach?
Signetti. It certainly seems that way. No, November 5th, by the way, for college football rankings.
Okay. Do they have an offensive head coach? Or is he a defensive coach? Either way, I want his coordinator. I guess that's what I'm saying. Do you think his coordinator would leave Indiana for Oklahoma?
Their coordinator?
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think? What do you think their coordinator search should look like for Oklahoma? I mean, we saw some good things from Joe John Finley. I still hope he opens it up a little bit. Would Brent Venables' defense continue to benefit from an A&M like Colin Klein offense? Or do we have to go back to Oklahoma's air raid roots?
I think you would like to run some sort of spread offense, but with a really good running game mixed into it. But I don't know. I'm interested because Venables has taken Stoops' philosophy on having the offense you hate to face the most, right? And I think that's why Stoops ran the air raid, because he hated facing Mike Leach's offense at Kentucky. And Venables hated facing the veer and shoot, which is why he brought in Levy to run that offense. But honestly, man, I think you should I think every option needs to be on the table.
Okay. I don't know. I kind of saw a lot of quarterback run game yesterday, which kind of made me think Colin Klein, K-State. You know, Ohio State has a lot of those same principles too. Yeah. Kind of that quarterback run game. I haven't watched them as close this year, but I think back to other Ryan Day offenses, they're not, now they got Chip Kelly, though, so I don't know really what he's running.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I think you base it off what you have, right? I know you hate Lincoln Riley, and you have every
Lincoln
reason
Riley.
to hate Lincoln Riley.
Did they lose this week?
No, they didn't. They beat Rutgers on Friday night.
That sucks.
The offense he ran with Baker Mayfield, which was dynamic, and the very next year,
running based, but it was running based.
But what I'm saying is, when you had Kyler Murray, you incorporated the quarterback run because that's what you have. So you need someone who could be multiple. If you have a running quarterback, you have to use his legs.
I don't think Lincoln Riley is that dumb that he wouldn't. I mean, it was Kyler Murray. I think even you and I would have.
But even you put in the design runs too, because you got a freak back there and you got to use it.
K-State beats Kansas. SMU
pretty good game though, by the way. That was a really close game that Kansas had the lead in the fourth quarter. I was watching that along with the A&M game.
Is Kansas one of the most disappointed teams this year?
Yes, you wouldn't expect that to ever have expectations about Kansas, but it seemed like they were set up to be successful without having to play Texas or Oklahoma. And yeah, it just hasn't worked out for them. I don't know if they've had injuries or what, but no, they're 2-6 now. They're back to being the Kansas of old. K-State 7-1.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's BYU. And is Iowa State still undefeated?
Iowa State's still undefeated. Yeah, I don't know if they played. I
don't think they played yesterday.
Yeah.
So Iowa State and BYU are tied atop, and then it would be K-State and Colorado maybe next.
Yeah. Okay. So technically BYU is leading because they have one more game than Iowa State. So they're 5-0 in conference. Iowa State is 4-0 in conference.
Okay.
And then K-State is 4-1.
And what's Colorado? Are they next?
4-1 as well, but they have the tiebreaker loss. They lost to K-State head-to-head.
Okay, that's why K-State's ahead of them. Okay.
Yeah.
SMU Duke, pretty exciting game. Your boy Malik Murphy, in a losing effort, had a great game. 27-48, 295, and 3 touchdowns. But did you see the play by the defensive player, Harvey?
I did not. I heard they had a game-winning field goal attempt, right? Duke's
got it won. It's a very makeable, high school makeable kick, like very makeable kick. And Harvey, I'm sorry, I don't have his last name. Harvey for SMU box jumps the offensive lineman, right? The coverage he box jumps over him, and then he jumps again and blocks it. It was really, really cool.
Wow.
And then SMU goes on to win it overtime and stay ranked. So,
well, you did pick SMU. Did you pick SMU to
I did pick
make
SMU.
the playoff?
I did pick
it's looking
SMU
pretty good.
It.
And did you pick them to win the ACC? Or
they were in Ali. There might have been a dark horse pick. I'd have to go back and look at our notes. We have to go back and look at our picks.
Looking back, I probably picked Florida State because everybody else did.
Everybody
I was high on Clemson though. I will say that.
Colorado. We'll end this right here with Colorado in Cincinnati, 34-23. Look, say what you want about Prime. I was on the Prime wagon. Now I've kind of fallen off because sometimes it's a bit much, but whatever. Dude, they're bowl eligible. And that's 2 years away from being the worst team in college football in the Power 5. They were the worst Power 5.
Oh, you mean before Prime got there?
Before Prime got there.
Yeah.
Prime's had them for 2 years.
They were
in 2022, they didn't win a game.
Yeah, they were absolutely horrible.
They are bowl eligible and very much in the race in the Big 12.
Yeah, they look like a good team, man. It's been great. I didn't jump off the wagon with Prime.
I got nudged off by the attitude and the rhetoric.
That's understandable. I get that.
But the talent,
I totally get that. Yeah.
The talent at the skill position, i.e. Travis Hunter, Shadur State, is indisputable. Like those guys are.
And I'll say this.
What's Travis Hunter's situation right now? Is he being just play managed now? Is he managing? Is he not getting any snaps?
No, he was, at least in the first half, he played every snap. Every snap on both sides of the ball. But the difference with Colorado is that they're running the ball. They're being more dedicated. They're still primarily a passing team, but they're like less Texas Tech under Mike Leach, where it's like the 80-20 pass to run.
It's not sustainable.
They're getting a 60-40 now pass to run, which is good for them. You still have Shadur, you still have Travis Hunter, but yeah, they have been running it a lot better the last few weeks, and it's showing.
Okay. Shedeur leaves for the NFL after this season.
Yes.
Maybe the number one
Travis
draft
Hunter are
pick.
both gone.
Maybe him or Cam Ward could be the number one pick in the draft just because they're quarterbacks. I don't know if they're the best players, but
yeah,
just because of quarterback.
QB1, yeah. QB1
and QB1A, right?
Yeah.
Does Prime stay at Colorado? And does he either go to the pros or does he bounce for another team?
That's a really good question. I think Prime is going to take the best opportunity available for Prime. So if an NFL job comes up, he will take it. If it's a college job at a better program,
you are the king of subtlety.
But hold on real quick. Does Florida State doesn't fire
the buyout's like $88 million.
Or Mike Norvell.
The buyout's like $88 million. You can't fire him. You almost were in the playoff last year. You probably should have been in the playoff last year.
Yeah, you went undefeated in the regular season and won the conference.
I think you give him a chance to build the portal up.
It's just so crazy. It's inexplicable for them to be 1-7 right now.
Well, I don't know that DJ Uiagalelei was ever going to be a real option for him. Looking back at that, I guess.
Yeah, same here. But 1-7?
No. They're terrible.
Yeah,
they're terrible.
It's
and the loss, and it's not losing to Miami. Like they can lose to Miami.
Yeah, Miami's great, but
it's the Georgia Tech loss and the Boston College loss and every other loss they've had.
And they had Memphis.
Yeah,
and at home. You could justify this though, right? I'm not saying they should fire, but could you justify it with the one in whatever season that they had?
Hey, dude, I think you could justify firing Brent Venables for the complete lack of roster preparation he's had on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and that's the issue. That's the biggest issue was the management of the roster.
To not have offensive linemen ready to go. Look, we've talked about this offensively. The woes offensively were not we weren't good enough to even, you said it best, to even notice how bad our receivers were because we couldn't do anything with the ball. Finally, we had some movement. It makes you think, should he have fired Seth Luttrell after game 4, after they completely were terrible against Tennessee? It makes me think we could have had a fighting chance, especially against South Carolina. Maybe not against Texas, but especially against South Carolina. But even look at Vanderbilt, okay? Look at Vanderbilt as an example. Vanderbilt's a better team than Oklahoma right now, but not that much better statistically.
Yeah.
Like Pavia is a gritty, Jackson Arnold can be a gritty type run quarterback too.
Yes.
Yes. And y'all beat him by 3. I think you should have beat him by more.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It is what it is. The score
is what it is. And I'm just saying, I think that Oklahoma, after looking, you lose to Tennessee and you look like dog poo, and you've got Joe John Finley on staff. Maybe you say, Seth, I'm demoted. Maybe it's even just a demotion. Maybe you don't.
Yeah, I don't know if you could fire him after that, but the signs were there, right? The Houston game was a disaster offensively.
Dude, Auburn wasn't very good offensively.
Yeah.
You bring it up all the time for Hawkins. It was 2 plays. It was a big run and a big pass. Like that was it. And if Kip Lewis doesn't have a pick 6, does it even matter?
Seriously.
So,
and obviously looking back, or I said this, that they should have stuck with Arnold and just let him grow out of his growing pains. As far as pulling him against Tennessee, yes, but I don't think that he should not have started the next week. And I said it would have happened.
That was not the prevailing thought, though, after we saw Michael Hawkins go for 55 on that run.
Yeah, I get that.
When that happened, it was like, where was this kid?
Yeah, he was shot out of a cannon, man. He was so explosive on that play.
I'm back on Team JFA, though. I'm back on Team. Okay,
well, I'm glad.
To our picks. Oh, you got to ride with your guy, right? I was never not with him. Let's not look at the old tape. You were 19-22 coming into the week. I was 20-21. I had Navy. You had Notre Dame. Win for you. We both had LSU, right? The way I looked at it, we both had LSU.
We did.
Proven wrong by the serious operator that is Mike Elko. We both had Bama. Probably not in a shutout.
No.
You had Oklahoma covering. I had Ole Miss covering. So you got the win. I got the loss, which I'm telling you, I will take it every time if it means Oklahoma plays better. And then you actually had the loss against Texas with Texas, and I had the win because I thought Vanderbilt was going to keep it close, which they did. All that to be said, through 9 weeks, Kevin. This is week 9, right?
Yeah.
Dude, do you know that means it's going to be double-digit weeks next week? It's going to be week 10. Oh,
I know.
Come on.
Oh,
we're tied. We're tied. You've closed the gap. Either you've closed the gap or I've fallen off dramatically. One or the other.
It's a little both,
Let me give you a Tampa Bay Buccaneers score, Kevin, before we go. Tampa Bay is losing with a minute to go in the fourth quarter, but it looks like they might get the ball back. No, 4th and 8 at the Tampa Bay 28.
Okay, so it looks like there's a field goal coming up.
So that would make it, 34-26?
Still a one-score game.
Baker would be down 8. So that's your update there. You're probably listening to this in real time. I mean, not real time, so you'll know the answer, but hopefully Baker has something miraculous. The problem with Baker, Tampa Bay's defense sucks. It's literally like watching an Oklahoma game sometime, like an Oklahoma-led Baker-led Oklahoma team, where he's like slinging the ball over. I don't even know who their tight end is, but he's like making catches all over, especially in the first half. And then they just
Cade Otton, 9 for 81 and 2 touchdowns. Goodness,
I'm telling you, Kirk Cousins though, man, he's just like it's like he's playing dad ball against the kids out there in the, in the driveway.
Yeah,
I did that.
23 or 29.
My daughters were like, "Hey, Dad, will you come play basketball with us?" My wife's like, "Yeah, let's go. We'll go play basketball." I had no intention of playing basketball. Okay, you know who died playing basketball? I mean, a lot of people, but famous Pete Maravich. Pete Maravich, one of the greatest players of all time, died playing basketball. He was like my age. And I'll tell you why, because basketball is hard to play when you get old. I have an uncle that's 70. I'm not making this up. Is he 70? No, but he might be like 65. He was a pilot for Southwest Airlines, okay? And he's in Dallas. He still plays 5-on-5 basketball at a very high level with dudes in Dallas. He used to play like in the same league with like Romo and the tight end that he had. Witten was in this league. Like Dallas has very good pickup basketball, right? I mean, Dallas is just kind of where it's at. So my uncle played it at a really high level. I'm not saying how good he was, but he just an athlete. I don't know how he hasn't died yet. I don't know how he hasn't died yet. I played basketball against my daughters and my wife, who, by the way, these 3 women are the absolute worst people to play sports against. It's awful. We're talking like getting shoved in the back. We're talking about getting tripped. And you don't call fouls in our driveway.
Okay, no fouls.
There's no fouls. I was like, hey, you just pushed me in the back. There's no fouls.
Well, yeah, deal with it.
Let me give you another example. When we have a jump ball, you don't call jump ball. It's whoever wins it.
Oh, so whoever ends up with the ball.
Whoever jerks it out.
Possesses the ball. Literally possesses it.
My 2 daughters are like, it is, one's flying to the ground, the other one just takes it and goes into the, you know what I mean? So my point is, you have to play old man basketball, right? It's got to be a lot of ball fakes, bounce passes, pivots, up and under. Yeah. All this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like because your legs are tired, you can't even make a layup, so you have to go up like 2 or 3 times off the glass just to get it over. That's what Kirk Cousins is. All this is to be said. This is what Kirk Cousins does when he plays football. Nothing fancy except just old man sit down the field.
23 of 29, 276, and 4 touchdowns.
Those were basically my stats the other night in the driveway, Kevin. Those were basically my stats in the driveway. There's basketball. I know they don't exactly correspond, but I think you get my point. Dallas Cowboys. Can we get a Dallas Cowboy take? Are they play tonight?
Yeah, they do. 49ers.
Debo's supposed to be back.
Well, good for them. Cowboys need all the help that they can get. It just hasn't been good. I don't like the roster. I think it sucks.
This seems like a game, though. Maybe I'm just being optimistic for you.
The Cowboys could win this year. Yeah,
this seems like a game the Cowboys could win.
But hasn't been great for the 49ers so far this year. And they're always hurt. Every year.
Always hurt.
Every year. They play so hard. They're always hurt.
Losing Ayuk for the season last week, That's probably the death blow, though, right?
The fact
Like
that
they
you
could.
haven't had McCaffrey, and I don't think you'll see McCaffrey, and he's getting older too for a running back.
Well, he was injury prone even before. I mean, he's been injury prone his whole
But
career.
since he's been there though, he hasn't hardly missed very many games at all.
Really?
Since he
Really?
got to
Okay.
San Francisco, yeah. But yeah, you'd have to think that he's done for this year. So yeah, it just doesn't look good. Jawan Jennings, the other receiver's been injured too. Yeah, but having to go to it's a road game for the Cowboys. I don't trust them on the road.
Listen, as bad as I just think they could win the game. You know what I
They
mean?
could.
Like
No,
I'm
they
not
absolutely
like
could.
writing it off. However, I'm with you. Like I'm definitely not. I wouldn't put money on Dallas to do anything in this game. Like
No.
cover anything. I don't even know what the line is, but it's just I can't imagine it. This is a lost season for Dak Prescott.
5.5
You just signed
San
him.
Francisco favored.
That's a big line in the
It is.
NFL in the regular season. It's just a lost season for Dak Prescott. Did you just decide to pay him? He's on a
Yeah,
contract now, right?
they paid him and CD. And there's
That's
really no
terrible.
money for anybody else.
That's terrible. That's very
They gotta pay Micah too. So
well, he hasn't had. This isn't a very good contract year for him, right? Being hurt.
he's injured. Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. Hey, by the way, remember last week when we were talking about the game on ESPN Plus? I know we're a little off the rails here. We're still the Oklahoma Texas podcast. Okay, greatest rivalry in college football. But Kevin and I sometimes talk about stuff. Remember when I was griping about the game being on ESPN Plus, and I said I wasn't going to watch it, and you said, "Oh, people are going to tune in because it's the league or whatever." Lowest rated regular season game that they can go back in records almost.
Interesting. So
Just
even
bad.
more than that, I guess the Peacock they had a playoff game on Peacock.
That
I
was a
wonder if that was
playoff,
a playoff game.
and they had a regular season. This game was on Peacock, but it was the second game of the season.
Yeah,
This was just like thrown in the middle of and it's two terrible teams.
and also there was another game on TV.
I
That's
don't
the
know
mistake they made. There were two games on at the same time. So of course you didn't choose the one that's on TV or the one that's on ESPN Plus. I don't know.
It's just I don't.
If you're gonna make people do it, you gotta make people do it. It's like either you watch this game on ESPN Plus or you don't watch any football.
Like what Prime does on, like what Amazon Prime does on Thursdays.
Right. You get Amazon Prime or you don't watch. Simple. That you had another option. So
yeah, well, I'm just telling you,
fan of those teams.
You were right about Notre Dame. I was right about ESPN Plus sucking. How about that?
Oh, well,
I feel like that's the same level of sports knowledge.
Plus sucking.
I think it sucks. I don't like it. Here's the problem. Here's what I want. I thought about this, and then we're going to close this show up. Okay.
I think I know where you're going with this. Wait, go ahead.
I want like an umbrella app.
Yes, you can watch everything from different apps at one time.
Almost like a television, like a cable or modern day YouTube TV, but it allows me to flip through apps quicker with ease. But each app is like its own channel. And once I select the show on that app, but then I can go to another app quickly,
instantly,
and smoothly, and maintaining like the integrity of like where I was at, type deal. I think it would encourage you to subscribe to more. I think I might subscribe to Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus is like or Peacock. I don't have either one of those right now. But I think I would be more likely to if I knew I could watch whatever on one and flip over to the other one. Maybe I would do it.
Correct. How about a multi-app, multi-view? Like on YouTube TV, on college football, we get to watch 4 games at once. Can we have that?
Stop it. That's amazing. Multi-app, multi-view. Whew.
Yeah.
Especially now, like when you freaking have Ohio State playing on Peacock and crap like that.
Yeah, correct. Or if there's different sports going on, right? Like last night, the Oklahoma City Thunder were playing.
They look good, right?
It would be nice to have that.
They win last night?
They won at
I got
Chicago.
I got it late last night.
I think they won by 19 on the road. Home opener tonight against the Atlanta Hawks.
You going?
No, Wednesday though. I will be there.
Caruso.
San Antonio Spurs.
Go Spurs, go. Caruso is a nice addition to that team.
Yes, he is. The amount of really good defensive players that they can throw at teams and just swarm them, it's They're really deep, especially defensively.
And still be highly effective offensively.
Yes.
It's not like they sacrifice offense for defense, Brent Venables.
Yeah, they're not the 04 Detroit Pistons here.
No. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's like they go to the offensive end and you're watching a dynamic offensive team.
Yes.
Between Chet and Chet. Chet's figuring it out, man. Chet is maturing. He is becoming a superstar. Anyway, we'll talk a lot about the Thunder as the season goes on. Kevin, Texas has a bye week?
Bye week.
So you're saying that we're going to have one episode this week and it has to be us talking about Maine?
We got to talk about Maine, man.
This could be the shortest. Listen, if you're wanting to tune into the Boomer Bevo podcast for the first time, next week might be your option because it could be 20 minutes. Kevin, have a great Sunday. Enjoy your Cowboys and enjoy the rest of the week. Boomer!
Okay.